Today I'm going to share how I converted one Translocation Crypt Overlord into two miniatures, a normal conversion and a rather crazy one, and it's coming right up.
Necrons!
Nick speaking, and welcome to this video. Right, here we go. I'm going to convert the new Necron Translocation Shroud Overlord. As I said, I'm going to convert one normally, and then with the leftover bits I'm going to do an almost kitbash one, so two for the price of one. Okay, so of course the first thing to do is remove all the pieces from the sprue and clean up all of the mould lines. Now I have already done a standard build video of this miniature, so if you want to see that then you can go and check that out. The link will be in the pinned comment. However, today it's conversion day. Okay, so once I'd cleaned all of the mould lines up from the pieces, I went rummaging in my bits box to see what I could find, to see if I could get inspired. I found an Overlord from the Indomitus box set, which I had spare lying around, and also found the other Overlord which used to be available with the sort of big war side, the Reaper weapon, which, let's face it, is probably one of the coolest weapons that we have. I wasn't 100% sure how I was going to use this. I did find another sort of half beaten up painted Overlord as well, so I just put those pieces aside and had a good think about what I could do. Now whilst I was in my bits box, I came across this section which was a spare piece out of my 3D printed Nightbringer miniature. This was from Wild Mesh, done in conjunction with Den of Imagination. I've got links in the description below where you can check out the review video and paint video of that Nightbringer. But I thought maybe somehow I could use this spare piece in this conversion. I was saving it for something, but I didn't know what. So let's see if I get inspired later in the video. Okay, so as the Reaper weapon was my favourite weapon of choice, I thought I would start there. So I cleaned all of the mould lines off of that weapon. I was hoping to replace the standard scythe on the miniature, the Overlord's blade, with this weapon somehow. However, this miniature is a fixed posed miniature and it's made from rather large pieces. There's only 5 pieces in total, and 2 of those pieces is a head and a neck piece. So basically it's a front and back section of the body, and then the weapon which is integrated into the arms. So there's not a lot you can do with it. The arm on the Reaper blade is at the same join section as the model is at the elbow, which I thought was quite handy. So I dug out the piece of plastic in the elbow joint, allowing me to actually fit the elbow in of the weapon. And then I decided I might use some of the original miniature in this weapon to make it look like it's translocating, and also to use the little shroud section. So I decided to cut the weapon off around the halfway point. I measured the weapon so that when it was glued together it would be the same size as the original weapon. So I cut it off using my usual blue tack trick on top of a paint pot, cut it off, and then I glued the original bottom half of the weapon to the new top half of the weapon. Once it was dried, I then just placed it into position, worked out where I was going to eventually glue it, although I planned not to glue it until after I painted. And then all I had to do was sort out the resurrection orb on the other side. Again, I was going to use the arm from the old miniature where he's holding the orb and the join is right at the elbow. It's almost perfect. So that was the first conversion done, and I was left with the staff, or the top of the staff, from the original miniature to try and somehow make a third miniature with my cubes. Now in my bits box I also had the little square sections, I'm not quite sure what they're called, from the kit, the Tesseract Vault kit. I magnetised mine to be a vault or an obelisk, and that meant that I couldn't use all of the extra pieces because when it collapses down into the obelisk they just get in the way. So I had quite a few of these left over and they look almost perfect for a Translocation Shroud. Now my idea was to use these cubes as the teleporting device as such. You know what I mean. So basically my idea was to have just the sort of outside section of the Overlord showing, and then to make it look like it's just materializing or dematerializing, and the cubes are part of that process. I fiddled about quite a bit trying to work out the best place to put the arms, which were from the elbow joint with the top of the scythe on. The squares are shaped where they're sort of leaning backwards a little bit, so I wanted the teleporting Overlord to be on the front, so I found the perfect position where I could glue the top of the staff and the arms. One of them is holding the orb because obviously they're crossed. That was going to be the front of the miniature, and it's the only piece of the miniature from the original sculpts that I've got on here. I then randomly glued the little sections from the Tesseract Vault around the miniature just to make it look like it was translocating, and I used one of the Overlord's legs on the bottom to give me a little bit more detail of the actual Overlord. I had to cut all of the terrain off of the bottom of the foot, glued it all together. I used super glue because of course it's resin, the actual cubes are made from resin. And that's it, that is my conversion done. So here is my first conversion. I think it looks pretty cool. He doesn't look particularly sort of outstandingly different to the original, but at least it means when I've got them on the table they will look a little bit different. And well, here he is. Here's my crazy one. I'd love to know what you think about this conversion. I'm convinced that I like it. I like the fact that I've made the whole conversion just from one original piece. I like the concept that it is translocating, and I like it. I think I like it. Do I like it? Let me know what you think in the comments box below. Do you like it or do you not like it? Either way, I'm going to paint it. I'm going to paint all three, and you'll be able to see me paint them on the channel pretty soon. However, if you want to see my review video of this miniature, then here it is, and here are some of my other 10th edition Necron Codex miniature videos.